Come with us today as we join almost 100 other vehicles to make an electric vehicle trip from London to Brighton, with a smaller group going on to Paris and Geneva. But will we all make it? And what sort of issues will we encounter?
That's all just to make it super smooth and super slippery.
Exactly. We want it to be absolutely as efficient as it could possibly be.
And what efficiency are you going for?
Under 200 watt-hours per mile.
Okay, so 5 miles per kilowatt hour.
Something like that. If we can do better than that, that's great. On the way here, we managed to get about 170.
Day one is the usual start at the Westminster School by Buckingham Palace. All the drivers gather together, label up, grab a quick breakfast and prep for the departure. When we leave, it's as one, with cars of all makes and models leaving in a nice long procession. But will they all make it to Brighton? What about Paris and Geneva? So here we are, following a blue Porsche Taycan right at the start of the rally. You find me here with Tim. Say hi, Tim.
Hello.
Hi. And we've just gone over Westminster Bridge. We've just done the obligatory photo shoot, the Kodak moment. Weather a little bit inclement, but the forecast is for some improvement. We could have easily made it all the way down to Brighton without a stop, but this isn't a race, it's an efficiency trial. So we wanted to stop and grab a coffee at the M23. We took the opportunity to charge out at the same time. A little over 8 seconds from plug-in to charging on the Tesla supercharger, even with the adapter needed on this old Model S. Then it's back down the M23, dodging and diving between vans, buses and other traffic to make our trip as efficient as possible. Here's the route we took. Pretty straightforward, following the line on the map. Brighton's Madeira Drive was the endpoint for the London to Brighton part of this, and everyone passed the finish line, parked up, and spent the day at the seaside. This included weird little cars like the Microlino being driven by Ben McDonald.
Gary, how you doing?
Good.
Nice to see you, sir.
See you.
What brings you here?
Well, just the usual.
That's the Volta truck, fully electric and coming all the way down to Geneva with us. Keep an eye on it, we might see you later. Lots to see here, plenty of stalls on display. For those who didn't quite have the range to make the 60 odd miles down to Brighton without needing a charge, here's the L Charge. It's a diesel generator running off HVO.
So here we are, end of stage one. We're here in Brighton. We've got some lovely little wind turbines in the background. What an eyesore. Tim, how do you think it went?
Pretty good so far. It was not too difficult traffic-wise. We did pretty well from an efficiency standpoint. Looks like we averaged somewhere between 220 and 240 watt-hours per mile.
4 to 5 miles per kilowatt hour.
which isn't a bad result for a Tesla Model S that's 6.5 years old.
Thus ended day 1. We could have done it without stopping, but we needed to pee, so we took advantage of Peace Pottage, haha, and spent about 18 minutes there. Day 2 was the start of the bulk of the rally. About 20 vehicles made the trip to Paris, starting early morning in Brighton. The Volta truck came along, and we all made our way along the coast to the ferry at New Haven. Fun fact, this ferry usually does an overnight transfer, which we took last year. Not recommended unless you can get a cabin on the top floor. Anything lower, you risk being awoken by car alarms. Arriving at Dieppe, we all gathered together to travel en masse down towards Paris. The route was a reasonable 118 miles, easy enough for most cars to do without needing a stop, including ours. However, there were stops planned along the way, including this Ionity stop where we all caught up with each other, and Quentin Wilson and his team had trouble charging his experimental Skywell B11 vehicle. Everyone else chatted, some people charged, most people hit the nearby toilets. The main issue was the fact that the Skywell was experimental and hadn't been loaded with the profiles needed to perform a handshake with the Ionity device, so they decided to wing it and hope they get a charge at the next stop. Then back down the autoroute until we got to our next stop, which was at the Aire de Rosny. This Fastnet site was all working, fast charging and busy. Quentin and the team managed to get a charge, so they were fine. Tim and I weren't going to charge, but when we saw the traffic on the autoroute, we decided we'd take advantage of the downtime and actually stick a little bit of energy into the battery. Not too much, as this was paid for charging rather than the free charging that Tim gets on the supercharger network. Then onwards towards Paris, trying to navigate the tunnels and the one-way systems, not entirely successfully.
Yes, basically if you get to the Arc de Triomphe, you've gone too far. Nope.
Luckily, we got there, had our photos taken, did a quick lap, and headed for parking where we could then go and grab some food, a drink, and listen to a couple of speeches from our French hosts and Quentin Wilson. Not a bad day too. 2 stops along the way, didn't charge at the first one, did about 12 minutes at the second Fastnet. Day 3 started for us in Fontainebleau, where we stayed overnight at a spa resort with wildlife, a swimming pool, and a set of 10 Tesla superchargers. The car charged while we were having breakfast, and it was back on the road. The longest stretch of the journey so far today, with a journey of 360 miles to Geneva. France is famous for its nuclear power, but this part of France seemed to be the cradle of wind generation. Everywhere you looked, there were turbines. Loads of them. Fantastic. First stop for the group, again not for us, was this Total site with loads of dual-headed Alpatronic chargers available for everyone. There was even a CHAdeMO unit for the Nissan Leaf, which was experiencing rabbit gate issues at this point due to the quite warm weather.
Morning!
having a sandwich.
This was also where we met back up with the ZapMap team, who'd taken a completely different route to us in their Cooper Born and arrived via the Channel Tunnel. We'll see them again later. So because the whole objective of this part of the rally is to try and get as efficient as possible, one of the ways we do that is we make sure that the power setting that we've got on the vehicle is as low as possible. Now at the moment we're down near the horizontal bit there is 0, that means we're not using any power. If it's green, we're actually in regen, and if it has a little bit of orange on there, it means that we're actually using power. So what I'm trying to do is slowly increase the speed. We're at 76 kilometers an hour at the moment, which is a little under 50 miles an hour. So I'm pushing it up like a mile on the cruise control, a mile an hour at a time. And as I do that, you can see the little bit of orange starts to change. So it's dropped, we've hit the speed. So I put it up another mile and we're getting another bit on the orange there. And the whole idea is that we've just gradually incremented with minimal power usage to get up to a reasonable speed. I'm aiming for probably 90 kilometers an hour, which is a little under 60 miles an hour, to keep the efficiency down. Because what's playing against us at the moment is we're hitting some of the more mountainous, hilly areas of the country. So not only are we trying to increase the speed, we're also trying to fight against the uphill nature of the ground. So at the moment we're leveling out, maybe going downhill a little bit more. So I'll just push the speed up a little bit to 82, and you'll see we're regen and we're increasing speed at the same time. So that's the ideal point to be at. So we'll just keep doing that as much as we can and take the hit when we go back up the hill. The McLaren was heading with 30 other supercars down to Geneva and on to Monaco, we believe. We made our first stop of the day at Beaune in a rather nondescript Tesla supercharging stop. Not a lot to do here, and we stayed for about 30 minutes eating our lunch.
Say a few words, Tim, how's it going?
It's going very well. We're stopped to charge at a Tesla supercharger, and we've got about an hour and a bit to go to Geneva. So looking forward to seeing the other participants there.
The scenery started to improve after this as we headed into the mountains, through tunnels, and finally out into Switzerland and Geneva. Told you the ZapMap team would turn up again sooner or later. The organiser, Tom, had booked a car park right on the banks of the lake, so we had spectacular views of the fountain and the water. So how did everybody do? Any dropouts? Problems? Well, everybody managed to charge. Nobody had major issues other than the Leaf, which was a known problem. Even the little VW E-Up with the shortest range of everybody turned up only about 30 minutes after we did. Finally, we had dinner on the banks of the lake. A great event, looking forward to next year. Here's a charging summary for the last day.